Okay, so let's export our elements to Nuke. So we're gonna render each layer separately. So I'm selecting my dome light and I'm deactivating the background. So make sure to do that as well. We can also turn off the fog that is on the background. We just don't need it for now. So we have our alpha that is clean. When it comes to render settings, you can leave everything by default. It can be really low. And by the way, if you have a machine that is not like amazing, don't hesitate to also downsize maybe the resolution a little bit. Okay, so I'm just masking all my other layers except the foreground, checking if everything is right. Everything seems to be right. We can leave the motion blur on for the moment. This is about right. Okay, so let's go back into the render settings. As I said, I'm leaving everything by default. I'm just gonna make sure that animation is turned on, that I'm rendering the whole frame range for this. I'm also gonna make sure that I'm rendering my shot cam and not something else, so pay attention to that. Let's also name this properly, so simply foreground. Let's keep everything simple. Make sure you are rendering into 32-bit EXRs, and that's about it. Make sure also that the location where your project is right. Then you can switch to rendering and launch simply a batch render. So I'm gonna cut here, just so we don't wait for the whole render. And I'm gonna do the same for all my render elements. So now that we did the foreground, we can do the midground, so same process. I'm masking the other layers for now, just to be sure that everything is correct. Everything seems to be okay. We still have our floating mountain, but we'll deal with that later, so don't worry about it. Same, I go back to my render settings, make sure to change the name to midground this time. We can leave everything as it is, and we can launch another batch render. Yeah, everything's good. Cool. So once again, I'm not gonna leave the whole render, and I'm gonna do the same for my other render elements. So at this stage, I'm already starting to think about how I'm gonna approach this. As I said, the background mountains are likely to be a 2D matte painting that's gonna be projected. So technically, I only need one frame, and it's probably gonna be the last frame with some Orbiscan, but for now, I'm still gonna render probably the whole sequence, just in case, just so we can see how it looks like, how much parallax is happening. And it should render really fast, anyway, because the geometry is very light, the texturing is very light. There you go. So same thing for my very distant mountains. I always just launch an IPR just to be sure that my render is okay, because you don't want to wait for hours sometimes for a render and then realize that you forgot to turn off something or to turn on something. So make sure everything is all right, then hit render.